And welcome back to our channel. Today, we will delve into a fascinating and often overlooked mystery of the Bible, the children of Moses. We know Moses, the legendary leader who parted the Red Sea and led the Israelites out of Egypt. But have you ever wondered what happened to his sons Gershon and Eliezer? Why are they not in the spotlight, as Aaron's descendants simply disappeared? Or is there more to their story? In this video, we will reveal the hidden legacy of Moses' sons exploring the Bible's intriguing clues about their roles and why they never rose to prominence. Their story contains surprising lessons about God's purpose, His perfect timing, and the power of serving faithfully behind the scenes. If you have ever felt in the background, unseen or uncelebrated, this episode is for you. We will reveal why Gershon and Eliezer are more important than you think and why their lives matter today. Stay with us to discover the surprising reasons why Moses' sons were not in the spotlight, how their hidden legacy still impacts us today, and the powerful lessons that will inspire you to embrace your unique role in God's plan. Don't miss this eye-opening journey into a rarely told story from the Bible. If you enjoy discovering hidden truths and deepening your understanding of God's Word, be sure to give me like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share it with others who love to explore the secrets of the Bible. We would love to hear your thoughts, so leave a comment below, and let's grow together in wisdom. Let's go. Some was the story of the children of Moses. Gershon and Eliezer begins during Moses' time in Midian, a crucial period in Moses' life when he was in exile from Egypt. And after fleeing Egypt for killing an Egyptian taskmaster, Moses found refuge in Midian, where he met and married Zipporah, the daughter of Jethro, a priest of Midian. Exodus chapter 2, verses 15 to 22 was during this time that Moses and Zipporah had their two sons Gershon and Eliezer. The Bible introduces us to Gershon for the first time in Exodus chapter 2, verse 22. Zipporah gave birth to a son, and Moses called him Gershon, saying, I am a stranger in a strange land. The name Gershon comes from the Hebrew root ger, which means pilgrim or stranger. This name reflects Moses' deep feeling of displacement and alienation during his time in Midian. For Moses, who had grown up in the palace Egyptian as the adopted son of the Pharaoh's daughter, this was a drastic contrast. He went from being royalty to being a fugitive in a foreign land, herding sheep far from the life he once knew. The name of son captures this feeling of being an outsider, reminding us of the emotional and spiritual journey that Moses was experiencing at that time. The birth of Moses' second son, Eliezer, is mentioned later in Exodus chapter 18, verses 3, when one of the sons was called Gershon, because Moses said, I have become a stranger in foreign land, and the other was called Eliezer because he said, the God of my father was my help. He saved me from the sword of Pharaoh. The name Eliezer means God is my help, which commemorates God's protection over Moses when he fled from Egypt. This name serves as a testimony of God's deliverance, reinforcing the idea that despite the challenges Moses faced, the hand of God was with him, guiding and protecting him during his journey. The emphasis on God's deliverance is not just a personal reflection of gratitude of Moses, but also a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness to his people. Gershon and Eliezer's roles in Moses' journey were different from those of other prominent biblical families, such as Aaron's sons. Moses' sons did not inherit leadership or leadership roles. They played significant roles in the events of the Exodus and beyond. When God called Moses from the burning bush in Exodus chapter 3, Gershon and Eliezer were still young. Moses, doubting and feeling unworthy of the monumental task God was assigning him, was accompanied by his family, including his wife and children, on their initial journey back to Egypt. Exodus chapter 4, verse 20 highlights this moment. Then Moses took his wife and children and put them on a donkey and returned to Egypt, and he took in his hand the rod of God. This verse means that Moses' family was part of the beginning of his mission, despite their proximity to one of the most defining moments in biblical history, the participation of son and Eliezer was largely unrecorded. In the later narrative, their presence highlights the personal side of Moses' life. Balancing his divine mission with his responsibilities as a husband and father is a crucial moment involving Moses' family occurs in Exodus chapter 4, verses 24 to 26. At a place of lodging on the road, the Lord met Moses, and he was about to kill him. But Sephir took a flint knife, cut off his son's foreskin, and touched Moses' feet with it. Certainly, you are a husband of blood to me, she said. Then the Lord left him. This dramatic event that probably involves Gershom emphasizes the importance of the covenant of circumcision that God had established with Abraham. Genesis chapter 17 verses 10 to 14 circumcision was a sign of being set apart as God's people, and Moses' urgency in fulfilling this act of the covenant almost cost him life. Zipporah's quick action to circumcise her son not only saved Moses, but also restored the family's alignment with God's commands. This incident underscores the broader biblical principle that even those chosen by God, like Moses, must adhere to his covenant laws. Also highlights the fundamental role of Moses' family in supporting his divine mission, even in ways that are not always visible or recognized. So why did Gershon and Eliezer fade into the background despite their involvement in the early stages of the Gershon's journey of Moses, and Eliezer do not continue to play prominent roles in the development of the story's several factors could explain their relative obscurity. Number one, focus on Aaron's lineage. God appointed Aaron and his descendants as the priests of Israel, a significant role that required great responsibility and visibility. Exodus chapter 28 verses 1 to 3. Aaron's sons Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Tamar were directly involved in priestly functions and in the sacrificial system that was central to Israelite worship. This focus on Aaron's family may have limited the visibility of Moses' sons, was intentionally made to avoid any confusion about spiritual leadership. Number two, the emphasis on Moses' unique role. Moses' role as prophet, leader, and mediator between God and the Israelites was unique and unmatched. His calling was not automatically extended to his children. Deuteronomy chapter 34 verses 10 to 12 declares that there never again arose in Israel a prophet like Moses with whom the Lord interacted face to face. No one like him did all the signs and wonders that the Lord commanded him to do in Egypt against Pharaoh, his officials, and his entire country, because no one has ever shown the power and performed the great deeds that Moses did in the sight of all Israel. This passage emphasizes that Moses' leadership was distinctive and that his sons were not positioned to inherit his prophetic or leadership roles. Number three, possibility of returning to Midian. There is the possibility, as some traditions suggest, that Gershom and Eliezer have returned to Midian with Zipporah during the Exodus journey. Exodus chapter 18 verses 1 to 6 tells how Moses' father-in-law took to Zipporah and the sons to meet with Moses on Mount Sinai. This passage suggests that Moses' family was not constantly present during the dramatic events in Egypt and in the desert. This meeting indicates a possible separation, which could explain their limited presence for moments. Significant features of Israel's journey. Although the roles of Gershon and Eliezer are not prominently featured in the story of Exodus, 1 Chronicles chapter 23 verses 14 to 17 provides a brief genealogy showing that their descendants continued to serve in Israel. The sons of Moses, the man of God, were counted as part of the tribe of Levi. The sons of Moses, Gershom, and Eliezer, the descendants of Gershom. Sebul was the first. The descendants of Eliezer, Shebuel was the first. Eliezer had no other children, but the children of Rejvias were very numerous. The descendants of Gershon and Eliezer were counted among the Levites, the tribe formed by God to assist in the care and service of the tabernacle and later the temple, while the descendants of Aaron were appointed as priests. The broader line of Levites had various supporting functions, including the maintenance of the sanctuary and the custody of the temple and the assistance to the priest. This distinction is described in Numbers chapter 3 verse 5 to 9. The Lord said to Moses, "Take the tribe of Levi and present them to Aaron the priest to help him. They must fulfill their duties towards him and towards the entire community in the tent of meeting by doing the work of the tabernacle. They must take care of all the utensils of the tent of meeting, fulfilling the obligations of the Israelites in doing the work of the tabernacle." Although the descendants of Gershon and Eliezer were part of this broader Levitical service, the specific details of their roles are not elaborated, indicating that their functions were not as celebrated or high profile as the priestly duties. The line of Gershon, the role of Sebul, the genealogy of Gershom is specifically mentioned in 1 Chronicles chapter 23 verse 16, where Sebul, sometimes spelled Shuba, is named as the first of Gershom's descendants. He later appears in 1 Chronicles chapter 24 verse 20, where he is mentioned among the leaders of the Levites. As for the rest of the descendants of Levi, of the sons of Amram, Sebul, of the sons of Shebuel, Hadaz, the presence of Shebuel among the Levites indicates that he had a leadership role, although it was not equivalent to the priesthood of the descendants of Aaron. This subtle but recognition significantly reflects that the line of Gershon continued to serve within the Levitical structure, contributing to the worship and organization of Israel. The line of Eliezer, the numerous descendants of Revias. The line of Leah is notable for having many descendants, particularly through Revias, such as it is mentioned in 1 Chronicles chapter 23, verse 17. The specific mention that the sons of Revias were very numerous indicates that the line of Eller grew substantially and had a notable presence among the El. The emphasis on their numbers suggests that they were a prosperous family. Within the tribe, even if they did not hold prominent titles, the importance of the descendants of Revias can also be seen in the way the Chronicles emphasize their proliferation. This contrasts with many other lines that diminished over time, reflecting a blessing of fertility upon the family of Eliezer, remembering God's promise to increase and bless his people. Genesis chapter 22, verse 17. I will surely bless you and multiply your descendants like the stars of heaven and like the sand on the seashore. Although the numerous did not reach a high priestly status, descendants of Revias continued to serve in supportive and possibly administrative roles within Levitical duties, contributing to the stability and continuity of the community's worship practices. The comparison between the descendants of Aaron and those of Moses highlights a deliberate distinction made by God. The line of Aaron was specifically chosen for the priesthood, a position of spiritual leadership and visibility that carried great responsibility and privilege. In contrast, the descendants of Moses were integrated into the broader Levitical service without special recognition. This distinction is further emphasized in the 1 Chronicles, chapter 24, where the sons of Aaron are detailed with specific priestly courses, responsibilities, and honors, while the sons of Moses are only briefly mentioned. 1 Chronicles, chapter 24, verses 1 to 2 says, These were the divisions of the descendants of Aaron. The sons of Aaron were Nadab, Abihu, Eleazar, and Ithamar. But Nadab and Abihu died before their father and had no children. So Eleazar and Tamar served as priests. This clear delimitation establishes the sons of Aaron as the central figures in priestly functions, reinforcing the idea that those called of God are distinct and do not always align with human expectations of heritage and prominence. Although Gershon and Eliezer were not prominent figures in their time, their lives and the legacy of their descendants continue to have significant value for us today. Their story serves as a powerful reminder that God's purpose and timing often operate in ways that follow human recognition and expectations. Here are some key lessons we can learn from their lives. The lives of Gershon and Eliezer teach us that not all of us are called to be in the spotlight, and that is perfectly aligned with God's design. Although Moses' children did not achieve the fame or recognition that their father had, his existence was still an integral part of God's unfolding plan. His story highlights that the purpose of God for each of us is unique, and that our lives have meaning even when we are not at the forefront. Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verse 1 encapsulates wonderfully this truth: everything has its time, and everything desired under heaven has its hour. This verse reminds us that God's timing is perfect even when it does not align with our own desires or expectations. The lives of Gershon and Eliezer were significant in the timing and roles God assigned them, even if their contributions were not prominently displayed in the narrative biblically. In a similar way, Romans chapter 8, verse 28 assures us that God works all things for good, and we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, of those who have been called according to his purpose. Just as God wove Gershon and Eliezer in the tapestry of Israel's history in a supporting role, he continues to weave our lives into his greater purpose, often in ways we cannot fully understand. The lack of visible recognition does not diminish the value of our contributions when they are a part of God's divine plan. Although Gershon and Eliezer were not famous, their descendants continued to serve God within the tribe of Levi. This legacy teaches us that the impact of our faithfulness often extends far beyond our immediate circumstances. We may not see the full effects of our obedience in our lives, but the seeds we plant can bear fruit for generations. Psalm chapter 112, verses 1 to 2 highlights the lasting legacy of the righteous. Blessed those who fear the Lord, those who find great delight in his commandments. His children, they will be powerful in the land, the generation of the Righteous will be blessed as Scripture emphasizes that those who fear and obey God leave a lasting legacy that blesses future generations. The descendants of Gershon and Eliezer, although they were not in the spotlight, were part of the Levitical service, contributing to the spiritual fabric of Israel. Its history reminds us that our faithfulness can influence those who come after us even if we never receive recognition. Hebrews chapter 6 verse 10 also speaks of God's recognition of our service. God is not unfair. He will not forget his work and the love they have shown by helping their people, and continue to help them. Underlines that God sees and values every act of service, whether seen by others or not. The descendants of Gershon and Eliezer continued to faithfully fulfill their roles, and in doing so they contributed to the worship, continuing, and spiritual life of the community. Moses' life exemplifies that God's calling matters more than human recognition. Despite his great achievements, Moses faced immense challenges, doubts, and moments of darkness. Similarly, his children did not achieve fame, but their lives remind us that true importance lies not in status, but in our obedience to God. Philippians chapter 2 verses 3-4 offers us a powerful reminder about the value of humility and service. Do nothing out of selfishness or vanity, but rather with humility consider others as superior to yourselves. Each of you must look out not only for your own interests, but also for those of others. The story of Gershon and Eliezer is a testimony to this principle. Their lives were not marked by selfish ambition or pursuit of protagonism. Instead, they fulfilled their roles in a silent and faithful way. This humility serves as an example for us to focus on serving God and others instead of seeking recognition. Also, 1 Samuel chapter 16 verse 7 reveals God's perspective on what really the Lord matters. He does not look at what the man looks at. The man looks at what is before his eyes, but the Lord looks at the heart. This verse highlights that God values our inner devotion and obedience much more than external achievements or positions. E.g., son and Eliezer, although they were not celebrated, they were part of God's chosen people and fulfilled their role in the grand narrative of Israel's history. Their story teaches us that God's evaluation of our lives is based on our faithfulness, not our fame. Many people today struggle with feeling unseen or unimportant, especially when they are not in visible positions. The story of Gershon and Eliezer encourages us to find purpose in the roles God has assigned us, knowing that every act of service, no matter how small, is significant in his eyes. As well as Moses' son served without widespread recognition, we, too, can be called to serve in ways that are not immediately seen or celebrated. Trusting God's greater plan helps us find satisfaction and fulfillment even when our contribution seems small. Gershom's example and Eliezer challenges us to prioritize obedience to God's call over the pursuit of personal ambitions. In a world that often glorifies status and visibility, their lives remind us that true fulfillment comes from aligning ourselves with God's will. In conclusion, so where the sons of Moses disappeared and are important, although their story seems hidden in the pages of Scripture, it serves as a reminder that God's purposes are not always about being seen. The legacy of Gershon and Eliezer is subtle but speaks of the faithfulness of God and the importance of living in obedience to his calling. His absence in the biblical narrative is not a mark of insignificance, but a testament to God's unique plans for each of his people, whether in the spotlight or in the background. Each person has a role in the greater story of God. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please like, subscribe, and share. Let's continue discovering together more hidden gems of the Bible. God bless you, and see you next time.